So what kind of MPG does the 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder get in these GM trucks? Well, today we're going to find out, because over the last week to 10 days, I've driven the truck behind me well over 300 miles on a single tank of gas. So welcome back to another video. If you guys are currently following this series on the channel of what it's like to live with the 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder and of course the Chevy Silverado. Now, if you guys haven't been following along, there's going to be a dedicated playlist here on the channel, so make sure to check that series out and subscribe if you guys are not already subscribed, because I think it is going to be very interesting to see just how it is to live with a 4-cylinder full-size truck. So my goal with this series of videos is to kind of show what the ownership experience is like, once again with the 4-cylinder engine in specific. We know that the Silverado as a whole is very reliable. We don't know the long-term reliability of the 2.7 quite yet, but we do know how powerful it is, how much capability it offers, and again, this is cheaper than the 5.3 liter V8, makes more power, more torque than that V8, and can tow very similar amounts, which we'll get to here later in the series. So just to quickly cover a little bit about this particular truck, if you guys have not followed along or seen the first video, this is a 2023 Chevy Silverado LT, and the only options on this particular truck are the 18-inch wheels along with the all-terrain tires. Outside of this, this is basically the cheapest crew cab short box 2.7 liter turbo LT trim you can get at just over $53,000. Now, all 2.7 liter turbos are going to be paired to the same 8-speed automatic transmission with a 342 rear axle ratio. So it doesn't matter if you get a custom Trail Boss, LT Trail Boss, LT custom trim, whatever with the 2.7 liter turbo will be paired to an 8-speed automatic along with the 342 rear axle ratio. And before we go fill this truck up at the gas station, I do want to detail kind of the background about the type of driving I've done over these last 300 plus miles, the rated MPG on the window sticker, and kind of some expectations about how this tank of gas might differ from a normal tank of gas kind of after the truck is broken in. So some of the details about the driving habits or style that was done over these last 300 plus miles. Stop start was enabled about 90% of the time. There was just a few instances where I turned it off because it was very cold outside. I needed the heater to run, keep the coolant flowing through the system. So stop start was enabled 90% or more of the time. Mostly in-town driving was done. I would say about 75% of the miles were more in-town style of driving. Now, obviously, there was some mix in there between highway as well as a little bit of interstate as well. But the majority of these were more in-town, kind of 45, 55, 30, some slower speeds. So it was a good mix. Another big factor to note is that this truck was brand new when I started driving it. So these are break-in miles on the engine. Generally, over time, the engine might get a little bit more broken in, a little bit more free, and the MPGs might improve a little bit. Now, I'm not exactly sure how that will affect this exact calculation and how it will evolve over time, because obviously I won't keep driving this truck and be able to test that in the future. But just know this is break-in mileage, so that might impact the MPG a little bit negatively. And in addition to this, there was no hard accelerations or towing done. I don't even think the RPM or tachometer got over 3,500 in my driving. So at most, it was moderate acceleration onto interstates or highways. And generally, this was just break-in mileage, kind of done by the books in some ways. So no hard accelerations or towing. And in terms of total idle time of this truck, I would say it was less than 60 minutes total. Obviously, there were some shots where I had to film the truck idling with the lights on, the engine running, stuff like that. So I would say there was no more than 60 minutes of total idle time with the truck running and obviously not going anywhere. So those are the kind of driving criteria around this MPG test. So keep that in mind while you're watching this video, is that this was pretty much real world testing. This wasn't solely interstate or highways to try to hypermile the truck, get the best MPG or fuel economy possible. So it might be a little bit less than we were hoping for, or ideally that you will get out of this truck here in the future. But that is my criteria for this video. So one last thing before we go fill it up, as you can see here on the window sticker, the rated MPG is 18 city, 21 highway, and 19 combined. Now, it will be interesting to see how close we can get to the 19 MPG combined. However, I think we should be looking more towards the 18 city number, given that this has been the majority of the driving like I've covered just a few seconds ago. But that should be kind of the benchmark, I think, for this particular test. Okay, so here are the numbers I will be using as far as the calculations go. 321.3 miles traveled. The computer says 16.4 MPG average speed of 23.8 miles an hour. So you can see mostly in town, kind of slower speed traveling. But it's going to be interesting to see just how close we get to that 18 mpg of the city rating, given that the computer says 16.4. So let's go ahead and calculate it right now. So 321.3 miles divided by 20.908 gallons. And the verdict is, oof. Ooh. Yeah, that's not very good. The computer overshot it at 16.4. So that is my total MPG. I know it's inverted here. 15.4 miles per gallon if you round up to the first decimal place. So yeah, I guess that was to be expected. I knew the computer was probably going to overshoot it a little bit, as they tend to be a little bit optimistic. But yeah, 15.4 MPG over 321.3 miles. Again, this was mostly in town, about 75% of it. So this was kind of a worst case scenario given the truck was being broken in. So a brand new engine, in town, mostly city driving, which again is the lower rating on the window sticker. And also the idle time that I did with this truck, I know it wasn't more than 60 minutes, but obviously the more idle time, the worse fuel economy you're going to get. So yeah, 15.4 MPG, the actual number on this particular Silverado. Okay, so I apologize for the delay on this video, but unfortunately I did get sick over the last week and definitely had some time to recover. But that gave me some time to kind of comprehend my thoughts on the overall MPG I achieved in the Silverado. So I got to drive the truck another 220 some miles or so after you guys saw those last few clips of me filling it up and calculating the MPG. Now, according to the vehicle's onboard computer, it did not change at all. It stayed pegged right at 15.4 to 15.5 MPG, which is a little bit unfortunate, and that did not include any type of towing and consisted of the same overall type of driving that I did in the prior 300 some miles. So after digesting the results, it is a little bit disappointing that the truck did not meet the EPA rating on the window sticker. However, this was a little bit unfair given these were break-in miles. Now, I did a little bit of research online and actually looked at a few press reviews of the truck in the 2022 model year, again with the high output version of the engine, and they were also able to achieve very similar MPG as I did, somewhere between like 15, maybe 16 MPG, but most of them did not achieve the EPA rating on the window sticker, which is a little bit concerning, especially because many of those trucks actually had a few more miles on them. Now, however, I have had several owners here on these videos comment and say that they were able to achieve the EPA window sticker rating and actually got in the low 20 range, which is very surprising, but some of those owners have had the pre-facelift version, which has the lower output version of the 2.7. So I'm not exactly sure if that engine or version of the engine actually gets better MPG overall, but I have had owners say that they do meet the window sticker, so it's definitely mixed results on the internet. So I guess with all this in mind, my final thoughts are this. The 2.7 definitely offers a torque advantage over the 5.3, and it also offers a price advantage of nearly $3,100 cheaper than that of an equivalent 5.3, given you get a credit and it's not an extra cost option. So when you add those two things together on the window stickers, it's about $3,100 cheaper than an equivalent 5.3. Now, with that said, there are a few disadvantages of the 2.7 in terms of options and packages. Now, first one being you can't get the Z71 package with any trim level of the 2.7. You can get some of the Z71 equipment if you do opt for a Trail Boss, so keep that in mind. But when it comes to the 5.3, that would offer an advantage in terms of just being paired to the 10-speed versus the 8-speed with the 2.7, which has had some problems in the past paired to not only the 2.7, but also other engine options as well. Now, when you do look at the 5.3, of course, it is paired to that 10-speed auto, but it also comes with dynamic fuel management, which some people say causes issues the higher mileage and the older the vehicle gets, especially if you don't do pristine maintenance with the vehicle. So some people, for that reasons, knocks the 5.3 because it has the active or dynamic fuel management. But overall, that should help improve the fuel economy with that particular engine, given it can manage these cylinders and which ones are activated and stuff under certain driving scenarios. So in theory, that should help. But again, it might be a reliability issue down the road. I'm not exactly sure. There's definitely people out there that have more experience than I do with the 5.3 and the dynamic fuel management. So I'll leave that opinion up to you guys that have more research and time with the engines, but that is something to know. Now, in terms of the 5.3 liter V8 real world fuel economy, we actually do have some data with a particular truck that we use for the towing test. Now, that one actually has nearly 6,000 miles on it, so it is pretty broken in terms of the break-in mileage and stuff like that. And it actually, according to the onboard computer, over the last 3,000 miles of those break-in miles, or 6,000 miles, it actually achieved 15.8 mpg, again, calculated by the computer. So when you compare that to the truck that I was driving with the 2.7, it's within like half an mpg difference between the two. Again, mine was purely break-in miles. This one has been broken in and driven a good period of time. But when you compare the two, there really isn't much of a difference according to the onboard computer. So if we just use some generous math and say the 2.7 after being broken in will get 1 to 3 mpg more than that of the equal or equivalent 5.3 liter V8. So if you take into account the advantages of the 2.7, only getting fractionally better fuel economy, then the real benefits are going to be narrowed down to the driving dynamics, the options you can get available with each engine choice, the reliability, the initial lower cost, like I mentioned, the $3,100 cost savings opting for the 2.7, and maybe some people might just start bringing resale value of the truck 5-10 years down the road, whether you get the 5.3 or you get the 2.7. So I might be overthinking this totally. You guys have to let me know down in the comment section below. But I didn't come to a definitive answer in terms of, I guess, the MPG and would I opt for the 2.7 liter over the 5.3 liter V8. Now, obviously, if the 2.7 would have come to conclusive thoughts and got like equal or greater than the MPG listed on the window sticker, I would definitely say the 2.7. There's no reason not to go for that engine option given the cost savings at purchase and the cost savings at the pump. But when you get fractionally better fuel economy at best, which again, I don't know for sure after the truck is broken in what the MPG will be like, it definitely brings into the question which one is the better option. And that might come down to personal preference and of course the use case for the truck. Now with that being said, I definitely like the way the 2.7 liter drove versus the 5.3 liter V8. The throttle sensitivity, the torque advantage and everything like that was definitely a huge plus in my eyes over the 5.3. However, the 10-speed in the 5.3 is definitely a better transmission, seems to shift smoother, and definitely would be my choice if I could pair the two together. 2.7, 10-speed auto, pair those two together. I definitely think that would be a winning combination, but unfortunately, that does not look to be on the horizon here in the next couple of years, given that the Colorado is coming out with the 2.7 in the new 8-speed automatic. So looks like GM is going to continue using the 8-speed for the 4-cylinder. So I don't want to drag this video out any further, but hopefully you guys got some value out of this video and some real data. Unfortunately, it is break-in miles once again, but it is data nonetheless. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like button below. It greatly helps out these videos. If you guys are not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, check out some of the other videos in this Silverado 2.7 liter series. If you guys haven't been following along, it's definitely very interesting. And I'm glad I got to kind of live with a full-size 4-cylinder truck for a little bit over a month. It was a very good experience. You guys will see the rest of the video series here shortly, including towing with the truck, as well as my final impressions and overview with the 2.7 and what it was like to live with it, again, about 5 weeks. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, got something useful out of it. Let me know down in the comment section below which one you guys would pick in terms of the MPG comparison between the 5.3 and the 2.7. And let me know if you happen to own either truck here in the refresh 2022 or newer and what your real world MPG has been. Let me know your real world experience down in the comment section below. Definitely help some people out. So once again, hopefully you guys enjoyed and got some value out of this video. And as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.